What? Dynatrace can do that with OpenTelemetry? No way. Hello, welcome to the fourth edition of Dynatrace Can Do That with OpenTelemetry. My name is Adriana Villela. I'm joined by Andi.
Hey, Adriana. Thanks for having me back for the fourth time.
Yes, very exciting. I am super excited to learn our next thing as you take me through the Dynatrace tour. So, what do we have? What do we have today? What's going on?
Well, I think the last times we did analyzing logs through the logs app, we did services through the services app, and I think we did traces, if I remember correctly. Oh, yeah,
Yes.
logs,
Yeah, we've got
traces.
services, logs, traces.
Perfect. Now, what I want to like to do today is actually talk about notebooks. So notebooks are a great way to explore data or to collect data to then share and collaborate on with your peers. I also often use notebooks to get a feeling for the data, what type of data I really want, and then eventually convert this into a dashboard. Now we could, start with dashboards as well, but I think today I would rather show you a little bit of the magic of notebooks.
Sounds great. And for background, so like for me, initially when I started playing around with Dynatrace, um, I wanted, there's the app for traces, there's the app for logs, and then I'm like, where's the metrics app? And then I got the classic metrics app, and I remember talking to you about that, and you're like, yeah, that's not the new way of doing it. So we'll dig into that, and the answer is you do it with notebooks. There's some cool stuff. Can't wait to dig in. All right, I am going to start by sharing my screen. All right, so we are at the getting started page. So navigate us, Andi.
Yeah, I mean, we want to talk about notebooks. So what's the best way to find the notebooks app? What have you
My
learned so
favorite
far?
way. Command K or Control K. Notebooks.
Exactly. Notebook. There you go.
Let's go.
Cool. So what I always like, if you're looking at on the left side, we had your last
Mhm.
open notebooks. It seems
Yeah.
there was some getting started, some Kepler KubeCon, some Kepler stuff.
Yeah.
That means like with any document-based app, you see the once you last open. I also like the all notebooks. If you click on all notebooks,
All
do me a
right.
favor. Gets a
Cool.
nice overview.
Yeah, this is nice.
Um, yeah. It's always worth checking out the getting started, both on the notebooks and the documents.
Cool. So let's do that.
Yeah. What I like here, some stuff. First of all, you have a couple of links
Yeah.
to other notebook examples on the Playground tenant. So whether it's log, trace analytics, I don't know if you want to pick any of those.
Let's go to log analysis.
Yeah.
And this opened up, it looks like the Dynatrace Playground. I know this
Yeah.
because it shows here at the bottom.
Yeah.
And a shout out to the Dynatrace Playground, because I don't think there's like too many places where you can like go and play around with things, with like an observability backend, especially because, correct me if I'm wrong, but so you have to sign up for the Dynatrace Playground, and we'll provide a link for that. But there is no expiry on that, so you can like go
Correct.
in and play around with the data versus if you sign up for a trial account that expires after a week.
Exactly.
So
So, but I think every Dynatrace, customer user has access to the Playground tenant, and then if you have a trial, the trial will expire, but you will always be able to get to the Playground, and we also have an option to just sign up for the Playground. So, yeah, that's
nice.
correct.
But
Yeah,
I guess the difference in the Playground is you can't send your own data there, right? Like you
correct. It's
play with
just like
existing data.
read-only exploratory. Yeah, but you can also create notebooks and dashboards on top of the data we have in the Playground. And big shout out
Cool.
to some of the team members. I know I won't be able to mention all of them because it's a bigger team, but Maria, Rafael, Simon, thank you so much for maintaining the Playground, because there's a couple of Kubernetes clusters behind the scenes that they keep maintaining with different apps. And yeah, it's really cool.
It's all like the behind the scenes work that
Yeah,
that you don't see that makes these things tick. So yeah, massive kudos to the folks maintaining this.
exactly.
Cool. Okay, so we're back to our instance, my tenant.
Yeah,
Okay, so let's create our own notebook, right?
yeah, let's do that. So maybe click on the plus
Okay.
button.
Okay, cool. And I'm going to name my notebook because we should name all the things.
Yeah, because otherwise we have a lot of unnamed stuff,
Can you
untitled.
imagine everything untitled?
Yeah,
Because I guess technically you could have untitled, like a
yeah, yeah,
bunch of untitled notebooks, which
yeah.
don't do.
Because every document in Dynatrace gets a unique ID, and so you can obviously have multiple documents
Right.
with the same name. So
Oh
what
yeah,
I,
because I guess this thing here, right, is the unique identifier
yeah,
for my notebook. So
exactly.
cool.
Right now, it's
Okay.
only accessible to you because by default it's not shared, but you can
Right.
also share it later. Yeah,
Ooh,
exactly. Ooh,
I know, that's cool. And
yeah,
so these are existing users,
yeah.
and then you give
Yeah,
them different. Ooh, fun.
yeah,
So someone can just can mess with your data, or they can just enjoy viewing it.
exactly. And you can either share it with individual people or with groups. It seems in
Ooh,
your case, this is your own personal tenant. You don't have
yeah,
anybody else provided. You can also
yeah,
create a so-called share link right on the bottom. Um,
nice. Ooh, oh, and I copied. Oh, and then you can like change it.
Yeah. And then once you send this link to that person and then
Yeah.
they click on it, they will then be added to the list of people that you have shared it with in either view or edit mode.
Oh, okay. So I don't have to like if I wanted to share this with you, I don't have to necessarily. I can just do create
Yeah.
link, and I don't have to add you
e-
explicitly. It will
Exactly.
actually share it with you
Yeah.
once you access it.
Yeah.
Ooh, how
Right.
cool!
That's neat.
Did not know.
Yeah.
What does this do? Ooh, very cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yee.
Yeah. It's a lot of document sharing stuff.
Yeah, this is
But
great.
I'd say now back to the notebook. What I always like notebooks, I typically use them either for collaboration. So I want to build something and I want to share it with somebody,
Yeah.
or I use it for data analytics, and then later I convert some of these things into a dashboard or I use
Yeah.
it in a workflow. A best practice from my side is always to start with a new section on top, because if you click on the
Oh,
plus button, right, you see a lot of different sections you can add:
cool.
logs, metrics, events, blah blah blah, everything.
Uh-huh.
Um, I always like to start with a markdown,
Okay.
right? Because then you can give whoever gets hand on the notebook has a better understanding what this notebook is all about.
Cool. So
Mhm.
it's basically like you can do a README
Exactly. Yeah.
for your
Yeah.
notebook.
Exactly. I
Nice
also
and
do a lot of. I use notebooks a lot. You will also see some on the playground. How
mhm.
to do X Y Z with Dynatrace, and then I use a notebook to explain
Ah.
step by step with some examples with some queries in the middle. So that's also
Oh, that's really cool. Oh, so you could yeah, I guess this is full markdown, right?
full
So
markdown,
you could do
links,
like
everything.
ooh. Ooh, that's very cool.
Yep.
That's very cool. I'm gonna take that out though.
Yep.
Very nice, very nice. Yeah, so like essentially a README.
Yeah. Now,
Yay.
Adriana, you were telling me that you are like the last times you're running the OpenTelemetry Demo app on your local machine with Docker Compose, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect.
We will do the Kubernetes version of it, I promise. That's coming.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
today.
No, it's all good. It's all good. So I think if you click on the plus button again, this is where you can add
Okay.
more data to the notebook, right?
Cool.
We could, before we start maybe putting on some metrics, just
Yeah.
like quickly scroll down,
Yeah.
because I wanted to highlight that there's a couple of snippets that are like pre-made snippets, right? So, for instance,
Ooh.
for fetching vulnerability data, business events, um, also some code, because you can also run code as part of a widget that
Cool.
can then do whatever really you want. Some out of the
Yeah.
box, charting for different types of things. Just some examples, right?
That's awesome. I like that it shows you too what the query looks like. It's
Yeah. exactly.
It's very helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is like seriously super cool.
Yeah. Then maybe,
It does require some proficiency with DQL, right? The Dynatrace query language. Um, but I guess it's a good way to kind of get you started, and you can like reverse engineer stuff
yeah,
as well.
yeah, exactly. And
Nice. Nice.
I know maybe one thing to start with, because we talked about
Yeah.
metrics a lot in our
Yes.
preparation.
Yes,
Shall we try
indeed.
the metrics?
Okay. I'm
Uh,
assuming metrics.
mhm.
Create a metric section. And okay. And I'm assuming then we go search, so we can search for a metric.
Yeah,
So I have one that I know is being used by the OTel demo from the recommendation service, which is this one here. And I'm guessing that since it shows up in the search, that it means the metric is getting picked up
it's
by
getting picked
it.
up.
So this is a pure OTel example. So it's the OTel collector is ingesting the metrics from the OTel demo and then sending them over to Dynatrace. So
Mhm.
FYI.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we click on this, ta-da.
Mhm.
And I guess the other thing to mention, just going back to here, if you know the name of your metric, make sure it's under all,
Yeah,
because if you're trying to do made this boo boo under cloud all,
yeah,
it's not going to find it. So you got to be
yeah,
all.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's a gotcha. So cool. Okay, so I am guessing now that it's found my metric, we can run and
Hmm.
see what happens.
Hmm.
And so we can see our recommendations counter, the number of times that things have been recommended. Yay.
Yeah, exactly. And then, so by default, right, it gives you, I think in this case,
Mhm.
the line chart for the two
Yeah.
hours.
Yeah.
You can click on the options on the top right. If you see the
Okay.
options, yeah, this should then on the right side give you
Mhm.
different visualization options that you have.
And it tells you which are unsuitable. If
Yeah,
I try to click on it and it says unsuitable, what's going to happen?
I guess it's
Okay.
unsuitable. That's why.
That's good. That's good. I got to try it. It says it's unsuitable. I'm like, try me. Cool. No, that's good to know, right? It saves you from yourself.
Hmm.
Very cool. Very cool. If we do it as a bar,
Hmm.
table, that's not terribly exciting, is it?
Yeah, I guess this would it. And you obviously need to make sure that whatever data you have, you need to visualize it in a certain way. So you have the
Yeah.
charting options, you have the data mapping options here, right? You can also see this.
Okay.
It's a really powerful charting engine and dashboarding engine
Yeah.
where you can specify what type of what's the color scheme, what's the x-axis,
Yeah.
the y-axis. There's
Ooh.
a lot of different things you can select and choose from, custom colors, right? So yeah.
Ooh. Dun, dun, dun. That's awesome.
Mhm.
What's query limits?
This is just where you can basically specify some limits on how much data is actually queried when you execute the query, right? And then these are unit overrides. So there's different options. We have a lot of videos also that explain
Yeah.
dashboarding and charting options. So yeah.
Cool. That's awesome. Yeah, and I'll link to those as well in the video. Yeah, this is super cool. So I guess the other thing to mention, because the thing for me as a newbie Dynatrace user is, we've got the Traces app for traces. We have the Logs app for logs. So then I'm like, and the Metrics app. But if you look up metrics here, um, you will see, like, I guess this will take you to the classic
Yeah,
metric.
it's basically just a metrics browser where it shows you all the metrics that are available, right?
Yeah,
So that's like our classic view. And
yeah, yeah,
then if you are
yeah.
pick any of those. So maybe search for your metric again from here, the one that you had
Oh yeah.
earlier,
Let's see.
right?
Ooh, fun.
So it gives you a quick overview, and then you could also do an open with,
Ooh,
right? And then you could say, I want to now add this to the notebook.
we can add it back.
Yeah,
What's the difference between? Oh, this is without leaving the app. Never
yeah.
mind. Cool. If we saw it here, then
Hmm.
you can.
Yeah,
Ooh.
that's how it
Oh,
looks.
and it shows you the query.
Exactly.
How polite of it. Very cool. Um, and yeah, so do you know why this says early adopter?
I don't know. I think this was probably at some point when we were still on this previous generation product.
Yeah, because the way you can tell that it's like the classic versus the non-classic, because I have my stuff in dark mode, so when I see stuff in white, I'm like, I think this is the classic stuff, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, cool,
Good news
nice.
is that normally you would not need any of the classic anyway, especially for the use cases we are showing. So
Yeah,
yeah, if you want, we can easily go back to the notebook. I
yes.
think you
I
have
need to
it.
find it.
Here we go.
Must be this.
Exactly.
Cool,
So what we have
awesome.
here now is this notebook, right? This particular element that is on there will is also persisted in the notebook with all of its data. That
Okay,
means if you're sharing it with somebody, they would also see the data in the time frame from what's it say 10:44 to 12:45,
right,
because that's the time when you executed it. And
right,
if you
right,
want to
right,
change it, then you need to run the query again. Uh,
right.
yeah,
So this basically is a like a snapshot. Is that
exactly.
correct?
Yeah. So
Yep.
basically, it runs the query and then
Yeah.
it stores the data in the notebook. So if you are
Yeah.
sharing it, or
Yeah.
if you're downloading the notebook, because you can also download a notebook and then give it to somebody else to import it in their Dynatrace tenant, that notebook, that document that you download, that JSON file that comes out will include exactly that data as well uh, that you
Mm,
had here.
let's see if I can bring up the JSON file. Let me open it here. Oh, there we go. Beautiful. Ooh, pretty print. How nice of it. Look at that. Yay, Chrome. That's very cool. Yeah, so then it tells you now minus 2 hours. I guess
These are
if
just some
someone's reading,
default. This is a default time frame setting for the notebook.
yeah,
Again, this is, as I said, you,
right. You could specify a
Mhm,
time frame.
mhm.
Yeah, cool, cool.
Awesome. I would like to do something else.
Okay,
Now that you know how to add a metric, let's add another metric.
okay,
Meaning, let's add another section here with a metric, and
okay.
now I tell you which metric.
All right. Okay. So plus sign down here, and
Mhm.
I guess I could add it anywhere there's a plus sign.
Yeah,
If
exactly.
I
And
add it
then,
down here, it does it below the
yeah,
current
exactly.
panel. Okay. Lead on.
Metric.
Okay.
Now I want you to look at a service metric. I want to get the service response time. And I want to leverage the fact that we have the categories on the left, the services. Yeah, because I know you're running some of the hotel demo app services. Yeah, here we go.
Yes. Cool.
And I'm a performance geek, so I like to see the service
Love it.
request response time.
Okay. Let's do that, and then we'll run it.
You, right? So now we got the
Uh,
percentile, the 90th percentile, which is also nice with
uh-huh.
metrics. You can also specify which aggregation,
Cool. So those the split by
and then
option.
the split by is
Put
also
it in.
nice. Yeah. So splitting by, you could do it by endpoint or by service. I would like start with the
Cool.
service, the DT entity service.
Okay.
That's
Can
the
I select
name.
multiple? Oh yeah, I guess you could.
Give it a try.
All right, let's just do the one for now. What the derp? Sorry. And so it shows. And these are all you can see here. These are all the. I guess these services do they represent like in Dynatrace internal service names?
This is we give services a service ID as you
A
are
service
ingesting the
ID.
data. Every
And then this
service
is
also has a logical name, and so you could also then say you want to have the logical, like just a human readable name.
yeah.
But in this case, by default, the entity service is the entity name exactly.
Gotcha. Cool. Yeah, and because and we know that this is an internal Dynatrace construct because it's prefixed with DT dot.
Exactly. So when
So
you're ingesting your OpenTelemetry traces, We
Yeah.
basically then enrich it with our contextual information and metadata about your architecture, like what
Nice.
service, where does it run on, and then we have all this information. Yeah, exactly.
And I will mention that, you said enriching, so immediately maybe someone might be thinking, "Oh, do I have to do something extra here?" And the answer is no.
No, exactly.
This is like purely coming in from the OTel collector, and then once it gets in, Dynatrace is doing some magic behind the scenes, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Cool.
Exactly. We could also write so that there's a lot of different things you can do now in this widget. Whether you want a different visualization, you want to filter things out,
Yeah,
you want to split by additional things. But I would say, for the intents and purposes, to show people the notebooks, people can
yeah,
play around with it. Maybe one more
yeah,
thing I want to do in the notebook.
yeah.
Can you add another section?
Sure.
And then
Yeah.
let's do the recent logs, actually, the one that you just have.
This one here? Oh,
No,
sorry.
the
This one.
snippet.
Recent
Yeah,
logs.
yeah.
Okay, cool.
Let's just try this.
And then this is like pure DQL.
TQL, yeah. Then can click on run, right?
Cool.
And so we
Ooh,
get to see
la la.
the last 10 logs that are coming in.
Oh, that's
Um,
cool.
yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah,
Yeah, I do like that because I guess notebooks aren't just restricted to metrics.
exactly. Because Dynatrace is not just restricted to metrics. You can really do whatever you want on the individual data types. You can also
Yeah.
then combine them. You can combine logs with metrics, with traces in queries. But I think for the intents and purposes of today, I really just want to show you what the notebook can do. Yeah.
Yeah. Makes
Yeah.
sense. Oh, I guess the other thing that's worth mentioning from my explorations, because here the difference between like this explore metric section versus the recent logs is this one gives you the DQL right away. This one's like a more visual thing, but if you want to get fancy, you can like look at the DQL, right?
Yeah. And I think it's also the snippet that we chose, because we
Yeah.
chose the snippet. If you scroll down again
Yeah.
for the logs, it actually opened up a DQL tile with a particular DQL that fetches the logs. Now, do me a
Yeah.
favor. If you scroll
Yeah.
further down and click on the plus button again,
Yeah.
you can also just pick the very first entry, log. If you click on the
Yeah.
log,
Yeah.
there's a specific widget that is really also optimized for logs, even without
Okay.
having to start with any DQL, similar to the
Right.
logs app that we had.
Yeah.
Right?
Cool.
So in this case, you could say, by default, you just get the last 20 logs.
Yeah.
And then you can start interacting, for instance, with either adding comments here. You could summarize, you could create a time series. You could also interact with the table and do a couple of things.
Oh, cool.
So,
Oh,
yeah.
that's neat.
Yeah.
I feel like a kid playing around. I'm like, what does this do?
Mhm.
What does this do? Ooh,
See,
cool.
now we have all the logs, the number of logs over
Ooh,
time converted into a time series.
dang. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
And if you think about
Um,
it, then exactly right. You can use TQL. You can filter. You can say I want to count all of the logs that have a particular text in it, and this will
yeah.
all happen on the fly on read.
Oh, I see. Got it. That's super cool. Now, it looks like to me though, you can't edit the DQL here. This is read only.
Exactly. But what you can do is, I think if you see the three dots on the top, on the right, the three dots, yeah, I think you
Yes.
can do create a DQL section.
Oh.
Then it adds the same DQL that you had,
Oh,
and it
okay,
adds
okay.
in the section. Yeah.
Oh, so then I can this is the one where I can take this as a baseline and then
Yeah,
explore. Let's limit to
exactly.
30.
Right, and I think this is also the what I like about this. This is also the way I think notebooks. One of the use cases that you start playing around with the data, and
Yeah.
then you are you start from all the logs, and then you
Yeah.
refine, and you can keep your history of how you analyze the data. And
Nice. Yeah, if you're like me, you'll probably end up with a giant messy notebook of like different permutations of different things. That's
Could
very
be.
cool. I love that. Yeah, this is so awesome. And I know in I guess a future episode we'll get into some really gnarly ass stuff that we can do with correlating all the signals, which I'm excited for, but not today.
Exactly.
Which means you'll have to keep watching.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, and then this could be the segue to the next episode. So we just hint to it.
Hint.
If you click on click on that chart again that we see here,
This one, yeah.
focus on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
The three dots on the top,
Yes.
right? We saw earlier the create DQL section, or create DQL stuff, but we can
Yeah.
also do an open with.
Open
Right?
with.
And if you think this is something you want to have on your dashboard, right, this would be something where you say, hey, actually, I really like this particular data, but I
Yeah.
don't want to have it in a notebook. I want to add it to a dashboard. And in a dashboard, we have many more opportunities for layouts. You can have what you would expect from a dashboard, multiple different visualizations next to each other, nicely aligned. And
Yeah.
dashboards will always refresh the data as you're
Right.
looking at it.
Right. Right. That's exciting. I got to ask you though, what's the difference between add Grail query to dashboard and add explorative query to dashboard?
I guess there's only way to find out is by
Yeah,
trying it
okay.
out.
Let's see. Dun dun dun. New dashboard. Okay. Explorative. Can't spell.
So
Okay.
as you can see here, we now have the same thing in a dashboard. And if you can resize it, obviously. And if you now click the edit button on the top,
This thing
yeah,
here. Yeah.
right, exploratory means using this explore metric widget where you are
Oh.
not writing DQL, but you're actually using the nice, point and
Oh.
click way of defining your query. The other
Gotcha.
one would have added the same thing, but behind the scenes, it would have used the DQL. Yeah. So
Oh,
if you go back,
let's go back to that.
yeah,
I'm
and let's
yeah,
try
we're not
this. I think it was
into it.
the second
Oh,
one.
there
Yeah.
it is. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Let's do the open with
Mhm.
and Grail query. Okay, so this one.
You can also select the same dashboard. Yeah, perfect. See, this is why naming dashboards is really good. Yeah.
It is. It is. And so this is our new one.
Yeah.
Dang it, my screen share thing is blocking
It's okay.
my ability to
Yeah.
expand this. Oh wait, I can do it now. Oh,
Yeah.
jeepers. All right,
See,
cool.
but now you see that
Okay,
this is a DQL query. Yeah.
nice. This one versus this one.
Exactly.
Ooh, that's cool. That's cool. That's
Mhm.
cool. That's awesome. This is perfect for the control freak in you.
Mhm.
And then this is perfect for the oh my god, I don't want to break stuff
Yeah.
person. Nice. And then I guess it shows still. Does it show the DQL? Oh, it can create a DQL tile. Okay, so
Yeah.
you can
Or you
still.
can, on the right side, just as you had earlier, on the right side underneath that nice widget.
Oops. Oh, sorry.
If you,
Blah.
right, you always have the expand option for DQL, where your mouse is a little further to the right.
Oh, here. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, here it is. And then you can copy that and paste it
Yeah.
into a new thing. Cool. Awesome. Very cool. So now hopefully that gets everybody excited for dashboards.
Yes.
It's our next thing.
Cool. Well, I hope
Cool.
this was useful for you and also for everyone that is watching.
Yeah, this has been really great. Thanks so much, Andy. Looking forward to our next episode in which we dig into dashboards. So see you next time.
See you.